Commander Marcus Steele gazed out at the deep expanse of space from the bridge of the UES Vanguard, his ship cutting a silent path through the star-studded void. He turned to his first officer, Lieutenant Grant, as a soft ping echoed through the quiet of the bridge. It was an unusual signal, originating from the fringes of the Oort cloud in the Sol system. "Grant, what's that?" Marcus asked, his voice reflecting both curiosity and concern. "Sir, it appears to be a distress signal, but it's not one of ours," Grant replied, adjusting the sensors to get a better read. "The signal's architecture is alien, nothing we've seen before." Marcus straightened up. "Alien? Are you certain?" "Absolutely, sir. It's coming from an unidentified probe. Its technology is unlike anything in our databases." Marcus pondered the situation. Encounters with unknown alien technology were rare and often fraught with danger. Yet the potential intelligence and technological gains were too significant to ignore. "Set a course, Grant. Let's find out what's out there. Alert the crew to be on standby for a potential first contact scenario." "Aye, sir. Course set for the probe's last known coordinates," Grant confirmed as he relayed the commands. The bridge crew sprang into action, the usual hum of routine operations replaced by a tense air of anticipation. Marcus walked over to the communications station where Specialist Jensen was monitoring the incoming transmissions. "Jensen, anything else from the probe that could give us insight into its origins or purpose?" Marcus inquired, peering over the specialist's shoulder. "Nothing yet, Commander. The signal is repetitive, just a basic distress beacon. There could be more data embedded, but we'll need to get closer to decrypt it fully," Jensen explained, his fingers dancing across the control panel. Marcus nodded, his mind racing through the possibilities. "Keep me updated on any changes. If this is truly first contact, I want to know everything about who we're dealing with." The UES Vanguard approached the coordinates, slowing as it neared the small, metallic object adrift in space. The probe was spherical, with a complex network of antennas and sensors protruding from its surface. "Visuals on screen now, sir," said Ensign Harper, the navigator, as the main view screen flickered to life, showing the alien probe. Marcus examined the screen intently. "Looks dormant. Grant, prepare a boarding team. I want a close inspection. Take every precaution. Non-interactive protocols. We don't know what we're dealing with." Grant acknowledged with a nod. "I'll lead the team myself, sir. Suiting up in 10. As Grant and his team prepared for the EVA, Marcus turned his attention to the tactical display, his strategic mind considering the broader implications of their discovery. The arrival at this juncture could either be a boon or a harbinger of challenges to come. Either way, Marcus knew the importance of the moment. They were potentially at the cusp of a galactic paradigm shift. Minutes later, Grant's voice crackled through the comms. "We're approaching the probe now, Commander. It's even more intricate up close." "Understood, Lieutenant. Proceed with caution," Marcus instructed, his eyes never leaving the live feed on the screen. Grant's team maneuvered carefully around the probe, their suit thrusters emitting short bursts as they inspected the alien technology. "Sir, there's an inscription here, some sort of glyphs. It's not just a distress signal. This might be a message or a map." "Can we translate it?" Marcus asked, his voice tense with anticipation. "We'll need to bring it on board for a thorough analysis. It's beyond our field capabilities," Grant replied. "Do it. Secure the probe and return to the Vanguard. Let's find out what the stars have brought to our doorstep." As the probe was secured and the boarding team returned, Marcus felt the weight of command heavy on his shoulders. Whatever the probe's origin, its arrival in human-controlled space was no accident. Humanity might stand on the precipice of a new era, and it was his duty to navigate these uncharted waters. The bridge doors hissed open as Grant entered, a look of determined curiosity etched across his face. Together they would unravel the mystery of the alien probe, unaware of the events they were about to set into motion. The UES Vanguard's laboratory was a flurry of activity as the alien probe lay secured on the central platform. Under the intense light, its surface gleamed with an otherworldly sheen, the inscriptions catching the eye of every crew member who passed by. Marcus stood beside Dr. Emil Lang, the ship's chief scientist, watching intently as he and his team worked to decipher the glyphs. "Any progress, Emil?" Marcus asked, his arms folded across his chest. "It's fascinating, Marcus," Dr. Lang replied without taking his eyes off the screen. "The glyphs are part of a complex language system, possibly a blend of symbolic and phonetic elements. We're starting to see some patterns, but it's going to take some time to fully translate." Marcus nodded, his gaze fixed on the alien device. "Time is a luxury we might not have, Emil. The sooner we understand what this is, the better. As if on cue, the probe suddenly hummed to life, its surface pulsating with light. The team stepped back instinctively, but Dr. Lang's excitement was palpable. It's activating! This could be some kind of automated response to our attempts to access it. Everyone, be on high alert, Marcus ordered, his voice calm yet commanding. Record everything. The probe emitted a low, harmonic frequency, and a holographic display sprang forth from its core. The symbols projected in midair were accompanied by a translated voice message, thanks to the preliminary work of Dr. Lang's team. This is a message from the Galactic Empire, the voice began, resonant and clear. To the civilization of this sector, your expansion and technological advancement have been noted. You are hereby given a choice. Join the Galactic Empire and enjoy the benefits of universal prosperity and peace, or face the consequences of resistance. The message looped twice before the probe went dark again. The lab was silent as the implications of what they had just heard began to sink in. Universal prosperity and peace, huh? Sounds more like a threat to me, commented Lieutenant Grant, who had just entered the lab. Marcus turned to him, his mind racing with strategic calculations. Get this information to Earth Command, Grant. They need to know about this immediately, and ask for an urgent directive. Yes, sir, Grant replied, already moving to carry out the orders. Marcus continued to stare at the now inert probe. Emil, keep working on the translation. There might be more we're missing. Anything could help us understand what we're dealing with. Will do, Marcus, Dr. Lang assured him, already turning back to his instruments. With the lab team back at work, Marcus stepped out into the corridor, his steps heavy with thought. He made his way to the communication bay where he patched a secure line directly to President Sarah Thompson on Earth. Madam President, Marcus began as her image appeared on the screen, we've received a first contact message from a self-identified Galactic Empire. They're offering us a place within their empire, but it's clear that refusal could lead to conflict. President Thompson's face was stern, her resolve evident. Thank you, Commander Steele. Maintain your position and await further instructions. We need to assess our options and understand the full capabilities of this empire. I'll be convening with the United Earth Security Council immediately. Keep your crew on high alert and prepare for any scenario. Understood, Madam President. We'll be ready for whatever comes, Marcus affirmed, his voice steady. As the communication ended, Marcus turned back to the star-speckled void outside the Vanguard. This was no longer just a mission of exploration and discovery. The stakes had been raised to a galactic level, and humanity had to tread carefully. The future of their civilization could very well depend on the decisions made in the coming days. Commander Marcus Steele stood on the bridge of the UES Vanguard, tension palpable in the air as the crew awaited Earth's response. The view outside displayed a tranquil universe, in stark contrast to the brewing storm they faced. A soft chime indicated an incoming transmission. Marcus straightened, focusing on the main screen as President Sarah Thompson's stern face appeared. Commander Steele, the Security Council has deliberated. President Thompson began, her voice firm. We will not submit to the Galactic Empire. Prepare for defensive operations. We're mobilizing the fleet. Coordinates and rendezvous points will be sent to you shortly. Understood, Madam President, Marcus replied, his voice resolute. We'll hold our position until the fleet arrives. The communication cut out, leaving Marcus to contemplate their next moves. He turned to his crew, their faces a mix of determination and apprehension. Lieutenant Grant, initiate Protocol Delta. Secure all sensitive areas and prepare for a possible engagement, Marcus ordered. Grant nodded sharply, conveying orders through his headset. The crew sprang into action, the previous silence of the bridge giving way to the sounds of preparation and readiness. Within hours, the Vanguard was joined by other ships of the United Earth Fleet, forming a formidable armada. Admiral Lucia Ramirez, the fleet commander, hailed Marcus from her flagship. Commander Steele, report your status, Admiral Ramirez ordered. All systems nominal, Admiral. We're ready to hold the line, Marcus responded. Good, the Admiral acknowledged. Intelligence suggests an imminent strike by the Empire. They're not pleased with our decision. We expect them to hit our outer colonies first. Our mission is to delay their advance until we can fully mobilize. Marcus's grip tightened on the console. We won't let them through, Admiral. As predicted, the first wave of the Galactic Empire's forces arrived within days. Their ships were sleek, technologically advanced, and bore down on the human fleet with terrifying speed and precision. The first battle was brutal. The human fleet managed to hold their positions, but at a great cost. The outer colony of Proxima Centauri suffered heavy bombardments, and distress signals filled the comms channels. "Focus fire on their lead ships. Target their propulsion systems," Marcus commanded, watching the battle unfold on his screens. Lasers and missiles crisscrossed the void, creating a deadly ballet of destruction. Lieutenant Grant relayed targeting data to the gunners, his voice calm amidst the chaos. "New coordinates received. Adjusting firing solution now." The Vanguard shuddered as it absorbed a hit to its shields. Marcus braced himself against the command console, his mind racing for tactics that could turn the tide. "Deploy the interceptors. Let's give them something to think about," he yelled over the din. The smaller, faster interceptor ships darted forward, engaging the Empire's fighters in close combat. Their maneuvers bought the main fleet some much-needed time, and slowly, the tide began to turn. The Empire's advance faltered under the relentless assault from Marcus's forces. After hours of intense combat, the remaining Imperial ships began to retreat. The bridge crew of the Vanguard let out a collective sigh of relief. But the victory was bittersweet. Reports of the damage to Proxima Centauri and other colonies were dire. Thousands had perished, and the infrastructure was in ruins. Marcus stood silent, his heart heavy with the cost of their victory. He knew this was just the beginning. The Galactic Empire would not retreat so easily, and the war was far from over. But for now, they had held their ground, and in war, every small victory counted. "We did well today, but stay vigilant," Marcus addressed his crew, his voice carrying a mixture of pride and solemn warning. "Repair and resupply quickly. We must be ready to face them again. This war is just starting." As the crew set about their tasks, Marcus looked out into space, the stars seemingly unchanged despite the chaos that had unfolded before them. He knew the coming days would bring more battles, more decisions, and more sacrifices. But whatever came their way, they would face it together, as one united force defending humanity's right to exist and thrive among the stars. After the first engagement, the mood aboard the U.S. Vanguard was somber. The loss of life at Proxima Centauri weighed heavily on everyone, including Commander Marcus Steele. He stood before his crew in the main assembly hall, ready to address them. They needed a rallying point, and he intended to provide it. "Listen up," Marcus began, his voice echoing through the hall. "We've taken heavy losses. We've seen what the Empire can do, and we've paid dearly. But we've also shown them that we will not lie down. We will not surrender our homes or our futures." He paused, letting his gaze sweep over the faces of his crew. "We have only one option now, to fight. But not just in open battle. We need to be smarter, hit them where it hurts, and keep hitting until they realize that conquering humanity will cost them more than they're willing to pay." The crew listened intently, their initial despondence slowly transforming into a renewed sense of purpose. Marcus continued, "We'll start using guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run attacks on their supply lines, sabotage of their key infrastructure, anything that can disrupt their operations and slow their advance." Lieutenant Grant stepped forward, nodding in agreement. "We've gathered intelligence on several vulnerable targets in their occupied zones. With your permission, Commander, we can start planning our first strikes." Marcus gave a firm nod. "Do it, and use every resource at your disposal. This is a fight for our survival." Over the next weeks, the human forces adapted to their new strategy. Small, agile squads conducted raids on Imperial supply depots, communication arrays, and patrol ships. Each successful mission brought back not only much-needed supplies, but also valuable intelligence and a growing sense of hope. Meanwhile, Marcus coordinated with other fleet commanders, spreading the tactics of guerrilla warfare across human-controlled space. Each cell operated independently, making it harder for the Empire to predict and counter their moves. One significant turning point came during a daring raid led by Lieutenant Grant. The target was a heavily guarded refinery on the edge of the Empire's territory. Grant and his team infiltrated the facility, planting charges and escaping just before the explosion lit up the night sky. "Refinery has been destroyed, Commander," Grant reported via secure channel, the sound of his heavy breathing punctuating each word. "It should disrupt their fuel supply and slow down their fleet movements." "Excellent work, Grant," Marcus replied, a rare smile crossing his face. "Every blow we strike adds up. Keep pushing them." As word of the successful attack spread, resistance movements sprang up on other colonies, inspired by the actions of the Vanguard and its allies. The Empire was forced to divert forces to quell these uprisings, stretching their resources thin. During a strategic debriefing, Admiral Ramirez joined Marcus via holocom. Your tactics are making an impact, Marcus, she said, her face lined with exhaustion but her eyes bright with determination. We're seeing increased unrest in the Imperial ranks, and their advance has slowed. We may have a real chance to push them back. We will push them back, Admiral, Marcus asserted confidently, and we won't stop until they've withdrawn from our territories. The guerrilla warfare continued, becoming a thorn in the side of the Galactic Empire. Each skirmish and sabotage not only disrupted the Empire's operations, but also rallied more citizens to the cause. Humanity's resistance was growing, driven by the unyielding spirit of its people and the tactical acumen of leaders like Marcus Steele. They were down, but far from out, fighting not just for survival, but for their right to a future free from subjugation. In the command center of the UES Vanguard, Commander Marcus Steele and his crew monitored the galaxy-wide resistance efforts against the Galactic Empire. News of successful guerrilla strikes had become more frequent, and morale among the human forces was at its highest since the war began. Yet Marcus knew that to truly turn the tide, they needed a decisive victory. Commander, we've intercepted communications from the Empire's main fleet, reported Specialist Jensen, his voice tinged with urgency. It seems they're planning a major offensive aimed at several key resistance strongholds. Marcus leaned over the console, studying the intercepted data. If they succeed, it could crush the resistance in those sectors. We can't let that happen. We need to intercept them. Admiral Ramirez appeared on the holo screen, her expression grave. Marcus, I agree. I'm diverting part of the fleet to join you. We'll make our stand at the carry-on belt. It's narrow and filled with debris, perfect for an ambush. Understood, Admiral, Marcus acknowledged. We'll prepare the trap. As the combined fleets of the human resistance assembled in the carry-on belt, Marcus briefed his captains on the strategy. They would use the asteroid field to their advantage, hiding their smaller ships among the debris while the larger ships lay in wait just outside the belt. The element of surprise is our greatest weapon, Marcus explained to the room. We hit them hard and fast, then retreat back into the belt before they can regroup. Keep them confused, keep them off balance. The anticipation grew as enemy signals approached. Marcus watched the screens intently, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Hold! Hold! Now! All ships, engage! The human fleet erupted from its hiding spots, lasers and missiles streaking through space to find their targets. The initial surprise was total. Several Imperial ships destroyed in the first volley. As the Empire scrambled to respond, Marcus's ships weaved through the asteroids, striking and then disappearing into the cover of debris. The battle raged for hours. Marcus himself piloted a fighter, leading a squadron on daring runs against the Empire's capital ships. Each pass chipped away at the enemy's might, and the human forces slowly gained the upper hand. We're pushing them back, Commander, Lieutenant Grant reported over the comm, excitement in his voice. Their formation is breaking. Marcus felt a surge of adrenaline. All units, press the attack. This is our chance. With renewed vigor, the human ships pursued the retreating Empire forces. Just as victory seemed within reach, a massive Imperial dreadnought emerged from hyperspace, its guns blazing. It was a desperate attempt to turn the battle back in their favor. Marcus assessed the situation quickly. Target that dreadnought. Concentrate all fire. Beams and torpedoes converged on the imposing ship. The dreadnought's shields flickered under the barrage, and finally, with a blinding explosion, it succumbed. Cheers broke out across the fleet as the remaining Imperial ships retreated in disarray. Marcus allowed himself a moment to breathe, looking out at the debris field now littered with the remnants of the battle. Admiral Ramirez, the area is secure, Marcus reported, pride in his voice. The Empire's offensive has been stopped. Excellent work, Marcus, the Admiral replied, relief evident on her face. This victory will change the course of the war. It's time we go on the offensive. As the fleet gathered to regroup and repair, Marcus knew that the battle they just won was crucial. They had not only survived the Empire's assault, but had also given them a resounding defeat. Now, with momentum on their side, the possibility of ending the war on their terms seemed within reach. The turning tide brought not just hope, but a path forward, to victory and peace. With the momentum of their recent victory buoying them, the human forces, under the leadership of Commander Marcus Steele, began to press their advantage. Coordination centers buzzed with activity as plans to assault key strategic points of the Galactic Empire were laid out. Marcus stood at the center of it all, his presence a steady anchor as the stakes rose higher. Admiral Ramirez, our next move is critical, Marcus said during their strategy meeting, his eyes scanning the galactic map displayed before them. We have a window of opportunity to strike at their core systems. If we can destabilize their command structure, we might just end this war." Admiral Ramirez nodded in agreement, her face set with determination. "I concur. We've gathered enough intelligence from our previous engagements to identify their central command hub. It's heavily fortified, but it's the heart of their operational capabilities." Marcus pointed to a cluster of systems on the map. "Here, in the Viridian system, their command hub is located on a moon orbiting Viridian 3. It's a tough nut to crack, but with a coordinated strike, we can do it." "Let's start preparing the fleet. Time is of the essence," Admiral Ramirez instructed. The following days were a flurry of preparation. Ships were retrofitted, troops trained for ground assaults, and every detail of the plan scrutinized and refined. Marcus ensured his crew understood the magnitude of the mission. Every pilot, soldier, and officer was crucial to the success of the operation. The assault began with a diversionary attack led by Admiral Ramirez's forces, drawing the bulk of the Empire's fleet away from Viridian 3. Meanwhile, Marcus commanded the main strike force, focusing on the moon's defenses. "All right, everyone, this is it," Marcus addressed his crew as they approached their target. "Our goal is to break through their orbital defenses, land our troops, and take out their command center. Stay sharp and watch each other's backs." As they neared the moon, the Vanguard and its accompanying ships faced a barrage of defensive fire. Space around them lit up with explosions as they pushed forward. "Lieutenant Grant, lead the first squadron. Break through their lines. We need to clear a path for the landing crafts," Marcus ordered, his voice calm despite the chaos unfolding around them. "Yes, sir," Grant responded, piloting his fighter with precision, leading his squadron against the enemy's defenses. The battle was intense, with both sides suffering heavy losses. Marcus maneuvered the Vanguard expertly, providing cover fire for the landing crafts descending onto the moon's surface. Once the ground forces were engaged, Marcus led a team to the command center. The fighting was fierce, with Imperial soldiers defending their stronghold desperately. But the human forces were relentless, driven by the hope of ending years of conflict. After hours of intense combat, Marcus and his team breached the command center, confronting the Empire's military leaders. "Surrender now, and we can end this peacefully," Marcus offered, standing firm in the face of the enemy. The enemy commander, a seasoned veteran of the Empire, knew he was outmatched, but pride made his decision. "We will never surrender to invaders," he declared defiantly. "It doesn't have to be this way," Marcus replied. But as negotiations broke down, it became clear that a peaceful resolution was not possible. The final confrontation was brief and decisive. With the command center secured, the remaining Imperial forces on the moon surrendered. Marcus walked among his troops, clapping shoulders and offering words of encouragement. "This victory is crucial, but it's not the end. We must prepare for their counterattack." However, the fall of their command hub sent ripples across the Galactic Empire, causing disarray and confusion. Marcus knew this victory was significant, possibly even the turning point of the war, but he remained cautious, aware that the path to lasting peace was still fraught with challenges. As they consolidated their hold on the moon, the human forces prepared for the next phase, ready to face whatever challenges came next in their fight for freedom. The Galactic Empire, reeling from the loss of their central command hub, was now in a state of disarray. Yet they were far from defeated. Intelligence reports indicated that the Emperor himself was planning a decisive counterstrike, marshalling his remaining forces for a battle that could potentially turn the tide back in their favor. Commander Marcus Steele knew the importance of this confrontation. It was a chance to end the conflict once and for all. On board the UES Vanguard, Marcus met with his senior officers to plan their defense. "The Empire will throw everything they have at us," he briefed, his eyes scanning the room, meeting those of his trusted team. "We need to be prepared to face them head-on. This will be the battle that decides our fate." Admiral Ramirez joined the meeting via hologram, her face etched with the fatigue of war, but her voice steady. "We've located the Emperor's fleet gathering near the nebula of Orion. It's a strategic choke point. If we can stop them there, we can prevent them from spreading through the sector." "Admiral, we'll need to use every tactical advantage we have," Marcus responded. "I propose a two-pronged approach. While we engage their fleet, a special ops team could infiltrate the Emperor's flagship, targeting the Emperor directly." "Aggressive but necessary," Admiral Ramirez agreed. "I'll coordinate the fleet's movements. Marcus, your team has been behind enemy lines before. I trust you'll lead this mission." Preparations went underway rapidly. Marcus handpicked his team, including Lieutenant Grant and Specialist Jensen, both of whom had proven their valor and resourcefulness time and again. They understood the gravity of their task. The entire war could hinge on their success. As the human fleet positioned itself near the nebula of Orion, Marcus's team boarded a stealth shuttle, slipping undetected through the chaotic skirmishes that erupted as the main fleets engaged. The interior of the Emperor's flagship was unlike anything they had seen, a stark fortress of advanced technology and imposing architecture. Marcus led his team through the dimly lit corridors, moving silently towards the core where they believed the Emperor would be commanding his forces. They encountered stiff resistance as Imperial guards stormed to defend their leader. Blaster fire lit the corridors, and Marcus's team responded with precise, controlled shots. "Keep moving," Marcus urged his team, navigating through the labyrinth-like interior. Finally, they reached the command center, bursting through the door to confront the Emperor, a towering figure, his presence commanding even in the chaos. "This ends now," Marcus called out, his weapon trained on the leader. The Emperor, surrounded by his elite guard, remained eerily calm. "You underestimate the resolve of the Empire," he declared, his voice booming. "We will not fall today, not to insurgents." "It's not insurgency when we're fighting for our freedom," Marcus retorted, feeling the weight of his words. "End this senselessly prolonged conflict. You've lost." A tense standoff ensued. Each side waited for the other to make a move. But it was Specialist Jensen who noticed the Emperor subtly signaling his guards. Quick to act, Jensen fired a disruptor shot, temporarily disabling the guards' weapon systems. Seizing the moment, Marcus's team sprang into action, subduing the guards and advancing on the Emperor. With no remaining options, the Emperor surrendered. The capture of the Emperor was the turning point. News of his capture spread quickly, demoralizing the Imperial forces and swinging the momentum definitively in favor of the humans. As the remaining Imperial ships surrendered or retreated, a cheer erupted among the human fleet. Back on the Vanguard, Marcus addressed his crew, his voice filled with a mixture of relief and solemnity. "Today, we fought not just for victory but for peace. The war is over, but our work continues. We must rebuild, reconcile, and forge a path forward for all." The war had left deep scars across the galaxy, but with the Emperor's surrender, there was hope for a new era, an era of peace and rebuilding, where humanity could finally secure its place among the stars, free and respected. The war had ended. The Galactic Empire, once a formidable force spanning across countless systems, was now a shadow of its former self. Humanity's victory was not just a military triumph, but a testament to their unyielding spirit and determination to remain free. As the dust settled, Commander Marcus Steele stood on the bridge of the UES Vanguard, looking out into the vastness of space, contemplating the future. Admiral Ramirez's voice broke his reverie through the communication system. "Marcus, it's time. The peace talks are about to begin. We need you there to represent not just the fleet, but all of humanity." Marcus nodded solemnly, understanding the gravity of his new role. "I'll be there, Admiral. It's time to build the peace we fought so hard for." Arriving at the neutral station where the talks were to be held, Marcus joined leaders from various human colonies and representatives of the remaining Imperial factions. The conference room was filled with a tense but hopeful atmosphere as each leader prepared to lay down the terms for a lasting peace. As the talks commenced, Marcus advocated for terms that would ensure the sovereignty of human space while offering aid to the former Imperial worlds that had suffered under the war. "We seek not vengeance, but a stable, prosperous future for all," Marcus stated, his voice resonant in the crowded room. The negotiations were lengthy and fraught with disagreements, but the common desire to avoid further conflict led to compromises. Treaties were drafted, borders redrawn, and agreements reached on disarmament and the sharing of technology. With the peace treaty signed, Marcus returned to Earth, greeted not just as a hero, but as a harbinger of a new era. The rebuilding process was immense. Worlds devastated by war needed reconstruction, and the political landscape had to be reformed to accommodate the new galactic order. Under Marcus's leadership, the Vanguard was repurposed as a ship of exploration and aid. Traveling from system to system, Marcus and his crew helped to rebuild what had been lost, turning former battlegrounds into communities and suspicion into cooperation. One day, while overseeing the construction of a new school on a recovering planet, Marcus was approached by a young boy. "Are you the hero who freed us?" the boy asked, his eyes wide with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. Marcus knelt down to meet the boy's gaze, smiling gently. No, I just helped people realize they could free themselves. And now we all need to work together to keep our galaxy safe and peaceful." The boy nodded, taking the words to heart. As he ran off to join his friends, Marcus stood, watching the new generation play amongst the buildings that rose from the ruins. Years later, Marcus retired from active duty, leaving behind a legacy of resilience and diplomacy. The galaxy had transformed, with humans and former Imperial citizens working side by side to maintain the peace that was hard won. Humanity had not only secured its freedom, but had also become a beacon of stability and cooperation in the galaxy. As Marcus looked out from his home on Earth, watching the sunset, he reflected on the journey. The war had taught many lessons about courage, sacrifice, and the importance of unity. Now, as the stars twinkled above, he knew that the future was bright, filled with possibilities for all the children of the galaxy, whose worlds would now know peace, not war.